Been a long time coming, specifically 15 years, but revisiting an old vehicle doesn't hurt. Hey, welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson. Now behind me brings back long, fond memories, specifically from about 15 years ago when I took the Audi TT through the West Virginia mountains. Now this week's not going to be as spirited of a ride, but this 2016 brings a little bit of nostalgic feelings, plus the future. One thing that remains the same over 15 years is the youthful appearance that Audi TT brings. Now looking at the exterior, there is some changes. We still have a little bit of the chisel perfection that I recall, and of course the voluptuous curves that go with it. But what I like about this test drive, well, is the new innovations, and better yet, this stark red exterior. Working from the ground up, what you'll notice is the Quattro all-wheel drive system at the corners, and even better, the wheels on this particular model. These are 19-inch wheels with the optional 5-spoke design. Now, it's about a $1,000 option, and I think well worth it. Now, as for the tread, you're looking at 245 35s all the way around, really help getting some grip, and you will notice the low profile. Now, as you sweep down, this chiseled line really across the midline again gives some accent, and you do have some of those curves I mentioned earlier. Even better, down low, a little bit more flair, adding a little bit of sport. Looking back 15 years, you want to make some comparisons. Heck, we do it on the outside, but let's do it by the numbers. Now, overall, what you see here is about 164 inches, about 5 inches from whence I remember. Now, as for the wheelbase, this is 98 inches, about 3 inches more than back then. Now, other numbers are somewhat similar. The ground clearance still around about 4 inches. The overall height still equal at about 53. Now, one last thing is the width. Now, that has grown, which I'm really fond of, now being around about 6 feet, again 3 inches wider. One thing I like about the front of the TT, well, it's aged gracefully, and really where you notice that is that huge black insert. Now, there's not a lot of comparisons to the past because back then a little bit more curved up here. What I like again is this lower flare. Now, that's one thing you gotta look out for when you're pulling this vehicle into a parking space. This right here is going to be eat up all day by a curb, so you're going to want to leave you a little bit of space at the front end. No big deal, considering it's going to fit into any space real easily. Diving in a little bit closer, what you're going to notice with the headlight assembly is it's all encompassing, meaning, well, there's no fog light down low. Everything's right here under one lens, really giving a menacing look, matching that front grille. Now down low, you'll see this kind of black insert. Well, there's no airflow here, kind of gives that impression, but all the air is going to flow right through the center. One last thing is the added sensors up front, really allowing you to get in those tight spots because this vehicle is fairly low to the ground. Maybe you want to watch out for any kind of small incidentals like curbs. Swinging around to the back of the TT, it may sound trivial to talk about it, but heck, it does have some cargo. And the first thing you notice is the oversized rear hatch and the equally sized rear glass. Now, this sweeps, of course, with the profile and to be expected, but one thing to note, you can get a little bit of head banging back here if there's someone in the back seat and you lower this too quick. But that's to be expected considering this is a 2+2 design. Fit 2 full size in the front and maybe something really small in the back. Now, as you sweep down, what's great is this is a smart key system, meaning everything's really integrated with the vehicle, meaning you can just walk right up, press the button, and it's going to rise to the occasion. Diving into the rear cargo area, the first thing you'll notice, well, is the vast opening, giving you quick and easy access. The second thing, well, the 12 cubic feet of space, really rivaling any small compact sedan. Now back here, you're going to notice this net. Now what's great about that is you can slide anything underneath it. It's going to keep it from sliding around because after all, this is a sports car, so you're going to want to hit the gas. Now underneath the rear cargo floor, surprisingly, there actually is a spare tire. Now on this side over here, you're going to find this little band. And that's going to be for other items. Maybe you buy some 2 liters at the grocery store, shove them in there, it's not going to slide around. Last thing, a nice 12 volts, so if you go tailgating, add a little bit of power back here if you need it. Looking here at this rear tonneau cover, what you're going to notice is it stays in place when the hatch is open, but fills that void when the hatch is down, hiding all the items you could put back here, making this look a little bit sleek versus being cluttered. Now, if you need to remove this, it's real easy. It goes in 2 side grooves and gets out of the way. Now, as for the rear seat, well, it is a 50-50 split, and you can fold these for added cargo space. Simply push the handle here, and it tumbles forward. This allowing you to put some gear right here. Now, one thing to note, with the front seats in their fullest position, you're not going to be able to lay these down. Just another little factoid here at the fill-up area. What you're going to notice when the vehicle is locked, this does not open, but when you unlock the vehicle, heck, it pops with ease. Now what I like is this new trend of getting away from caps and going capless, making the gas nozzle go in real quick, fill it up, close it away. Just in case you need a little bit more sport, heck, they pop it up right here in this retractable rear spoiler. Now what's great is, well, it looks really cool and you can kind of do it anytime you want, but for those true enthusiasts, it's going to add a little bit more effect, give you some downforce on the rear end. Now as for me, 0 to 45, truly not needed, but well, it just gets you a little bit cooler looks as you're going down the road. I normally don't raise the hood because after all, I'm not a true gearhead, but once you look under it, heck, it's real pretty. Now what I like is, well, Audi offers 2 power plants. Got 2.0 liter TDI or the as-tested 2.0 TFSI. Both of these are turbocharged engines and are much stronger and more efficient than the previous engines. The gasoline engine may be paired with the optional 6-speed S-Tronic as seen here with the evolutionary stage of the Quattro permanent all-wheel drive system. The hydraulic multi-plate clutch is configured to achieve maximum energy efficiency, and the electronic control system brings stability and driving pleasure to a new level. When the car is driven in a sporty way, the system literally pushes the TT into corners and allows controlled drifting on wet road surfaces. Now it does it really for the exterior of the Audi TT and, well, a little bit of the performance we talked about. Now what we're going to do is take just a short break and dive inside this vehicle where you're really not going to recognize 15 years ago, but pretty much the future. One thing about small cars is you really got to minimize the clutter because, heck, there's just not enough room, and where they start, really right here on the dash. First thing you'll notice with the climate controls is, well, there are none. Instead, there are 3 huge oversized vents with the climate controls right in the center. Now we have the fan speed over here. There are push button in the center for various modes, temperature select, and of course the mode select over here. The other various buttons, of course, are for defrosting and rear defrosting. Now as for vent control direction, that's simple as turning it around, even this lever to cut it off. Now just under the climate controls, you're going to notice a few buttons here, specifically to drive select. We'll get into that in just a second. It really gives you the sport if you want it. The turn off the traction control, really there when you want to get that extra kind of sport feel. Hazards, and of course that retractable spoiler we talked about earlier. Now the parking sensors is something a lot of people like to turn off because sometimes in tight quarters it gets aggravating. In this case, I really found no need to turn this off here. Now just below that is a nice little niche hidden by this cover, and I found it to be perfect to put little items. Now there is no USB connection, which is fine because actually it'd be kind of hard to figure out how to connect it right there. Sweeping down the center, what you're going to notice is this kind of big divide, and that's really just fine to be expected. And I like the shifter. Really, this is an automatic transmission here, but it has that, of course, manual-like feel. And on this sporty ride, this really can give you a lot more dynamic kind of feel. Now up here is the volume control. This is also going to be the other selected mode for the radio system, and again, about the only minimal controls you're going to find. Push start buttons here. Now as you sweep down, this is a central control device we've seen in a lot of vehicles, BMWs, whatever, and this is really the cursor for everything. Now what you may have noticed on the dash, there is no corresponding screen right there in the center, and I'll show you where that is in just a second. Now these are all kind of your quadrant buttons. Press it up to radio, media, navigation, whatever. Those are going to trigger what your display says. This is going to toggle through it. The best buttons really is these. Menu is going to take you to the home screen. Back is when you really don't have a clue where you're at. Lastly is electronic parking brake. Simply push and pull on it. It's going to set and disengage. In a small vehicle, you don't expect a lot of cup holders, but what's great is there's one right here in the center between the front passengers. Now it's nice, deep, and cavernous, and it held about any size beverage I threw its way. Now for the front passengers, well, there's just not one visible until you pull up this nice armrest. Now once you do that, there is a center console here and a little holder that'll flip into place, holding your beverage when you need it. There's also a power supply and basically a little bit decent storage in here. On the steering wheel, you're going to find various controls right at your fingertip, and I like the fact they have smooth operation. Now on the right side, it's going to be the typical volume, and it has this nice smooth rolling dial that really kind of gets your specific setting, navigation, quick set, and of course the phone settings. Now over here on the left It's going to be some other various controls corresponding with the display we'll get into in a second, and they are real easy to use. Now what's really great is the cruise control was put way down here underneath, and that's helpful because it stays out of the way of all the other controls. One thing to note, it is illuminated so you can see all the controls at night with ease. Now we're going to get to one of the best features here on the inside, and it's the fact that there is no center cluster here on the dash, but instead it's all right here for the driver. Now what you'll notice here in the park view is that we don't have a tach on the far left, but instead the parking sensor kind of view. Normally it's going to be a digital kind of display for the tachometer. Now on the right is the typical speed, and what's great is it gives you that digital readout right there in the center for quick reference. Now in the middle is going to be all the entertainment navigation, and you simply can scroll through that based on what you select in those quadrant modes. Now as you go through them, you'll pretty much pull them up on the screen with ease, and again, if you have a little panic, just simply hit the menu button and it's going to take you to the home screen. Use that dial and easily navigate through. Now what's great is with this in this position, it's simply a glance down versus a glance over, making it to me a lot safer. Now one thing you can note, you can hit the view button here on the steering wheel, press that, and it's going to make everything a lot bigger. So if you want the entertainment to be bigger on the screen, press it. Want the speed bigger, press that. Really kind of gives you a specific readout for what you're looking for. For added comfort, you can get heated seats, and you're going to find the control, well, of course, hidden on the vents. Now there's going to be one for the driver on the far left, one for the passenger on the far right. Simply press the button. It has 3 different levels. For any vehicle like this, you really want 0 to 60 numbers, but what it comes down at the end of the day is the overall comfort. And what I like here, we do have the upgraded seats, the diamond stitch pattern, and this is a sports vehicle, so you have the enveloping kind of feel. Now as for power controls, they go multiple ways. There's lumbar support and extra thigh support simply with this cushion here. It's going to go in and out both for the driver and passenger. Once you get your comfort, where you really want to hold on to is right here on the steering wheel, and if you notice, they've shaved it off for even better sport feel. Now there are paddle shifters for that spirited ride if you want to do it. Now for the 0 to 60 numbers, well, in this particular model, 5.3 seconds. Now if you go with the TTS, well, it's going to go up the horsepower to around about 292 horses versus this one, well, it's about 220. Now what does that mean? Well, you're going to go from 0 to 60 in around about 4.6 seconds. Either way, with this Quattro on this particular model, this vehicle feels like you're on rails. Stomp the gas and steer it around the curve. Just to give you a glimpse at the back seat, one thing you'll notice, well, it's very vertical seat back, a little bit of cushion, and, well, no leg room. Now to accommodate any full-size figure back there means the people in the front are going to have to squeeze up a lot. Now that's to be expected, not really a complaint, just want to show it to you in case you want to throw someone back there. That does it for this edition of Road Warrior. Now test drive behind the wheel of the 2016 Audi TT, a vehicle we haven't seen in over a decade. Now what I like is the fact that it really didn't change and stayed true to its roots, and, well, heck, still a sports car. Even better, that outside I truly remember, well, it's easy to pick up on. But one thing it did do is grow with the innovations. It has a lot of that on the inside, and heck, no resemblance of the past. So after all these years, it's still a fond memory. Now, thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior. Keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.